Today we're talking about the Sex and the City reboot and Just Like That. And when I say talking about, I mean ripping it to shreds because that's what it deserves. So we're going to analyze the show, we're going to analyze the relationships on the show, and I'm going to give some ideas of what they should have done instead that would have made the show watchable and good and interesting, which is what I think all of us were really hoping for. I know this isn't like the typical theme of this podcast, but lately, I've been making a bunch of videos on this on TikTok, and they're going super viral, and so many people are commenting. I don't think any of my posts, even any of my viral posts, have gotten so much engagement because everyone's like, yes, like this is what I'm thinking. You are voicing exactly what I'm thinking and feeling. And so I feel like we need to have a larger discussion about this, and I want to be able to just talk about it without having to limit myself on timing. So I figured we need to make a podcast episode, and it will tie into a lot of the themes we discuss on here about relationships and working on yourself and all the things. Now, you might ask, Sabrina, if you hate the show so much, like, why are you watching it? Like, why are you wasting your time? And look, with lots of other shows I started watching and I didn't like them, like Emily in Paris. I thought that show was completely brainless, so I just stopped watching. I can't stop with this show because of what Sex and the City meant to me. And I feel like all the elder millennials will relate to this, specifically the elder millennials. I know the show had a special place in the hearts of all women, but for us, like the show kind of raised us. Okay, we really came of age with this show and it meant so much to us. We have an attachment to these characters. And yes, we know that they're fake. Like, we're not stupid. We know this wasn't a reality show. We have an attachment to them and we want to see them thrive. We want to see who they are. And that's why it's so disappointing seeing what they've done to these characters. Now, of course, they were all flawed originally. That's what we loved about them. Like, there was good, there was bad, and that's what made them so well-rounded. And it's what made them feel so real. Now they've turned them all into brain-dead cartoon characters. It's almost like a parody of the original, but like not funny. It's like a SNL skit parody, because I find SNL also pretty not funny. That's what they've been reduced to, and it's just very upsetting and like insulting, I feel like, to the original fans of the show. Now, as an elder millennial, for me personally, I remember growing up, and I think the show came out when I was in middle school. I know that I didn't start watching it until I was in 8th grade. It may have come out before that, but I remember I would like watch it and me and my friends would call each other and like talk about it for like an hour after. So for me, what it meant at that time, I mean, I went through major ugly duckling phase. Speaking of, like, should we do an episode on that? Because I watched the Alex Cooper Call Her Daddy documentary, and she went through major ugly duckling syndrome. And I feel like a lot of us who go through it, we have a very similar experience of the way we relate to ourselves and men and male attention and validation. And there was a lot of that. And anyway, so let me know if you want to hear an episode on that next. So I was this ugly duckling and I just like had big dreams. I wanted so much more for my life. I hated being like a kid. I just wanted to skip to being a grown up. And it just made me so excited for the future. I always planned to move to New York City. I always planned to be a writer. And so that's what it was, like this beacon of hope for me at that point in my life. Then when I got older, in my late teens, early 20s, I mean, and I was going through my relationships, ups and downs and heartbreaks. We didn't have social media back then. We didn't have any sense of like camaraderie of like, okay, you know, like these days you get ghosted, you can go on TikTok and like find all these other stories of these amazing women who got ghosted, and it makes you feel less alone. It makes you feel like, oh, I'll be okay. Us elder millennials didn't have that. We had Sex in the City. Like, that is what we had. That was our go-to source for like sisterly advice and for feeling understood and for watching the things that we were living in our lives play out on a screen. And yes, it was aspirational to a degree, but it was also very realistic to the experience of dating that so many of us have. So and then I graduated from college. I did move to New York City. I was working in fashion, but I was also a writer, and I was really aspiring to be a relationship writer. That's what I wanted to do. I guess I was a little influenced by Carrie Bradshaw, but that was also just something I was always fascinated with. I majored in English and psychology in college. So she obviously like played a big role in shaping what I wanted. I mean, sometimes there were a little bit of cons to that. I think when I was 22, I would get a paycheck and I would basically like run to Bergdorf Goodman right after, and it was like walking distance from my apartment, and I would splurge on like some designer dress, and then I had no money for like anything else. Like I would live off the dollar menu at McDonald's. So that was Carrie's negative influence, but I got myself in order pretty soon after. I didn't stay that way for long. So that's my connection with the show. And all of us have our own ways in which this show really meant something to us. I remember going through a breakup and when the episode aired where Burger jumped Carrie on a Post-it, and I just would watch that episode over and over again. It just made me feel less alone. And it made me feel like I would be okay. Like the name of this podcast states. Okay, so now let's talk about the reboot and what they've done. They have butchered these characters. Butchered. Like, yes, I get it. People change as you go through different phases in life, but that's not what they've reflected here. What they've done is just they made them so dumb and idiotic and just turn them into these bumbling fools, okay? I think the priority, especially in the first season, was diversity. The show got a lot of criticism for the lack of diversity in the original series, which is okay. It was the late 90s. It was the early aughts. That's how things were. All right. You did things which were in accordance with the times. All right. But then they overcompensated or overcorrected by shoving in as many diverse characters, as many minorities as they possibly could. Now, if you're going to do it in an organic way, that's one thing, but that's not what they did. They did it in a very performative, over-the-top way that just wasn't natural. And in the end, they've reduced all these minority characters to being just these token minority characters. Like that's basically what they did. They didn't introduce anybody good or interesting. I mean, Che, that is, you know what? Don't even represent non-binary people if that's what you're going to choose. That was the most obnoxious, unfunny character in like the history of television. Okay. So the wokeness, the over-the-top wokeness was too much. It was unnatural. It was forced. And that's why everyone was just kind of like, all right, enough already. Like enough already. Take it down a few notches. My bigger problem, aside from the over-the-top performative wokeness, is what they did to our characters. Okay, let's start with Carrie Bradshaw. I think the biggest problem with this new iteration of her is that she completely lacks insight. The original Carrie Bradshaw, with all her flaws, she was insightful, and she was a writer. It was her job every week to come up with insights about relationships, and she's gone completely flat. She has nothing to say anymore. Literally nothing to say about anything. She has been reduced to just making these cheesy little quips in response to anything. Like, you know, like Carrie's stupid, cheesy little jokes, like, if you're tired, you take a nap, but you don't move there. That was Carrie's shtick. That was a part of her, but she also had a lot more to her. Now she does not. She has been reduced to the cheap, cheesy quips. We can see this in the episode where she's out to drinks with that Gen Z jewelry designer. I can't even remember her name. And the jewelry designer was like, you know, dating is so hard in New York. It must have been so much easier for you, like back in the day. And I was like, oh, this is a chance to really say something. And Carrie's just kind of like, she says nothing. She has nothing to say. Carrie, you were a columnist writing about relationships in the 90s and early 2000s. You have and you were struggling. Like, you have nothing to say to this young girl who's struggling with dating. Like, that was a chance to say something interesting, to offer an insight about relationships. And instead, she just made some cheesy, stupid quips about the fact that that girl had like dated a psychiatrist. Like, ooh, well, does he have any openings at 4:00? Ooh, just make sure he's not a psychiatrist. That infuriated me. Seeing that absolutely infuriated me. She completely lacks insight. And last season, it really pissed me off when she was like, you know, when Aiden came back into the picture, don't worry, we're getting to him. And she was like, well, maybe big was a big mistake. And Miranda's just like, but she didn't say anything after that. Like, say something, offer an insight. Maybe she should have said, you know, I spent my entire youth chasing after this emotionally unavailable man. And I had this other man who would have loved me and treated me like a queen. And maybe I was foolish and maybe that was a mistake. Maybe I shouldn't have quit therapy after 2 sessions because remember, she like slept with John Bon Jovi and she like never wanted to go back. That was the chance to reflect, especially at the age where they are. I don't even really know how old they're supposed to be. I think they're in their 50s, mid 50s, let's say. Especially when you're at that point in life where maybe you are starting to have some regrets for the choices you make, but she had no insight. She said that comment, that quip. Okay, nice quip. Big was a big mistake. Okay, haha, like nice little quip. but back it up with something. And the writers just don't want to turn their brains on and think about what is something insightful we can offer here. Miranda didn't even have anything to say. Miranda always has something to say. Well, real Miranda, original Miranda, not post-lobotomy Miranda, which is what we get now. She doesn't even say anything. It's just a lot of dopey looks, cheesy comments, and like nodding along. Okay, so that's my biggest problem with Carrie. Now Miranda Hobbs. I'm sorry, and I want to be sensitive about this because I am not a lesbian, so maybe I cannot speak to the lesbian experience. I am a relationship coach. I've worked with many lesbians, and I've also worked with many straight women who at some point in time fell in love with a woman, had a relationship, and then it ended and they went back to dating men. Miranda is not a lesbian. She's not a lesbian because, you know how I know this? How we all know this? Because we saw her for years and years be incredibly attracted to men. We saw her have good sex with men. We saw her really enjoying herself with men. We even saw her question her sexuality at one point in time. Remember when the partners in her law firm just assumed she was a lesbian and they tried to set her up with a woman, and the big boss at the law firm was like, oh, we're really looking to add a lesbian couple to the mix. And Miranda was like, oh man, like life would be so much easier if I was just a lesbian. And so she tries to kiss the lesbian, and Miranda says herself, I am straight. I'm definitely straight. And the lesbian agrees. She's like, oh yeah, you're definitely straight. We explored that already. She's not a lesbian, okay? Now, is it possible that Miranda could have just been so swept away by Che? First of all, that would never happen. The real Miranda would hate Che. Che was so obnoxious and arrogant and like real Miranda would just be disgusted, wouldn't even be able to be in the same room as Che. But fine, maybe they fell in love. She had this lesbian experience. I think it would just end there. It would end there. And then maybe she should have a lot of regret over the way she treated poor Steve and cheating on him, especially like when she went crazy when he cheated on her. Do we not remember the first movie, how devastated she was when he cheated on her? But no, now this Miranda is like a sociopath. She like doesn't care. She's like, oh, whatever. I'm just going to do what I want to do. Get my good orgasms. It's just not, it's not true to the character. And it does not make sense that after this, she would decide, I'm a lesbian now. I'm 100% done with men. Not only has she decided she's a lesbian, but being a lesbian is going to be her entire personality. She has nothing else to her. And furthermore, like she's going to the bars and like hitting on women, like waiting until last call, like, ooh, who am I going to hit on? Who am I going to have a one-night stand with? And then she lands on Rosie O'Donnell. Like, that's who she chooses to have a one-night stand with. First of all, I just don't feel like 55-year-old lesbians behave this way. But if I'm wrong, please tell me. Like, I want to be educated. Like, going to the bars, like, looking for women, it's not Miranda. And it's just not. Beyond her, like, this whole like lesbian storyline, which is like taking over her entire personality. She just has no opinions anymore, no insights. The whole thing with Miranda is they always thought that she was like too judgmental. And it wasn't that she was judgmental. She would just call them out on their shit, especially Carrie. Like all the friction they would have would be because Carrie was being a moron and Miranda would try to like wake her up and snap her out of it. But now Miranda is just kind of totally off in like La La Land and she's just not there anymore. Speaking of Charlotte, what have they done to Charlotte? The storylines they're giving her are just ridiculous. I mean, people are saying that Kristen Davis can't act anymore. I don't know if it's that she can't act or that the storylines are so ridiculous. I don't know anyone who could actually make that convincing. Like her dog being canceled, that's the big storyline. And she just has become an over-the-top Upper East Side cartoon character. That's what she looks like. She is a caricature of her former self, and it's literally painful to watch. Like when she comes on the screen, I'm just kind of like, ugh, ugh. And then the new characters. The new characters. Okay, like I said, I totally understand the inclusion of diverse characters, but Lisa, who's like Charlotte's new bestie, she has just been reduced to being the token Black friend. Like, that's it. She's just a token character. Her whole storyline is completely uninteresting. I can't even recall to you her storyline. No one cares about her kids. No one cares about her husband. No one cares about her storyline. They just did not create a well-rounded, fleshed out character. She's just kind of there to fill a diversity quota. And that is what is annoying about this. And then there's Seema, the cheap Shein knockoff version of Samantha. She makes being like a bold, successful, confident woman seem sad. She is so desperate and sad and flat and one-dimensional, and it's just awful. Like this is how they're trying to fill the Samantha role. It's just it's really, really insulting. It is. They just have nothing to say about anything anymore. They have nothing to say. It's not just Carrie who lost their insight. All of them have no insight into absolutely anything. And the fact that Miranda and Charlotte are completely supporting Carrie's 5-year break with Aiden, where they're supposed to go no contact, just shows you that either they've realized, okay, Carrie, this woman's just clearly never going to learn. And if that's the case, it would be great to hear a conversation between them. Or they've gone completely brain dead. Because Carrie's like, oh yeah, like, can you imagine if in the original series, Carrie was like, oh, Big needs some space to deal with some things, so we're taking a 5-year break. We're going to go no contact, and then we're going to resume our relationship. They would be aghast. Remember when her and Big decided they were going to take like a few days apart every week to like gather themselves, like 3 days, and Charlotte was absolutely horrified. Like they were all pretty horrified. Okay, but now we're supposed to buy that they're completely supporting her. They're completely rah-rah cheering her on for taking a 5-year break with Aiden. Like, come on. Speaking of, let's look at the history of Carrie and Aiden. Their relationship is a classic example of the push-pull dynamic, where Carrie only wants him when he's unavailable to her. And that is basically her pattern throughout the history of the show, right? Especially with Big, who was mostly unavailable. That's why he was the love of her life. Aiden was sometimes unavailable, but mostly available, and she couldn't stand it, all right? Carrie has a disorganized attachment style. That's what I think. That's my diagnosis anyway. She has both anxious and avoidant tendencies. Aiden, I would say, has a secure attachment style. He's definitely not anxious with her. He lets her do her thing. He trusts in the relationship. He's a little too trusting. She definitely didn't deserve it, as we'll cover. He communicates well. So Aiden's secure. You know what? Actually, now that I think about it, all the male leads were, aside from Mr. Big, were secure. Mr. Big was obviously avoidant, but Steve was secure, Harry's secure, Smith Jarrett was secure, Aiden's secure. It's really just the women who have insecure attachment styles, which I feel like we could do a whole other episode analyzing their attachment styles. And I definitely did that on TikTok, actually. Okay, so they have that classic push-pull. So let's start from the beginning, and we'll go through this fast. So they meet at his furniture shop, and she's like, wow, he is hot, he is straight, I want him. And at first he's like, and then they go on this amazing first date, but then he finds out she smokes, and he's like, I can't date a smoker. And she is just kind of like, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do. And like, Carrie loves drama, so she's living for it. Eventually she throws her cigarettes away, she chooses the hot man. So they're dating, but then he won't sleep with her. He is not trying to have sex with her. And this is driving her crazy. She is like, what is going on? Are we friends who kiss sometimes? Is he gay? Like, what is this? Finally, she can't take it anymore. So she calls him out on it. And he's like, Carrie, we've been dating for like 2 weeks. Like, what happened to romance? She's like, oh, romance. So now she calms down and they're dating. But the problem is, it is going too well. It is going way too well. And she can't take it. She is going crazy. Okay, ladies, if you are in this position, if you are dating a guy who absolutely adores you, who is emotionally available, and you are waking up in the middle of the night and you physically can't breathe, you're waking up like, and you are panicking, go to therapy. This is your cue, okay? This is your sign. Go immediately to therapy or work with a relationship coach. I mean, this is the work I do, honestly, with a lot of my clients who are feeling panicked when they're in these great relationships. That is your trauma response, okay? Like, that is your trauma response. Carrie can't handle it, that there's no chase. There's no hunt. He's just there. He's emotionally available. There's no drama. She can't take it. But Carrie doesn't believe in therapy, so she does not go to therapy. Instead, she spirals. So then she tells Aiden, okay, it's just too much. I need some space. Like, I need some space. So he's like, okay. So he gives her space, but he's given her too much space. And now her anxious attachment style is kicking into high gear. And she's like, oh my God, like, did I lose him? Is he losing interest? Like, is he ever going to come back? And she's calling him and she's calling him, and all she's getting is his voicemail, and she's freaking out. She cannot even take a deep breath. So now she's freaking out once again. First, it's because he's too available. Now because he's avoidant, but that's like the only time she wants him, right? So now she like desperately needs this man. Finally, he resurfaces and she's like, what the hell? Like, where were you? And he's like, you said to give you space. And she's like, you gave me too much space. And it's like, he can never win with this woman. Now, He probably should have exited stage left at this point, but he did not. And actually, this is a problem that people with secure attachment have. I know they're like the unicorns of the dating world, but they do tend to stay too long sometimes. They can just like tend to get too complacent, or even if something is not what they want, they figure, okay, like we could still work this out. We could still work this out. Big mistake, Aiden. You paid a very big price for it. So he sticks it out, and once he's very available again, once again, she starts up with all her self-sabotaging shenanigans. But none of that works. Like, her acting like a total nutcase just does not push him away. So we got to up the ante. Affair with Big. She doesn't just have an affair with Big. She has an affair with him all over town. Uptown, downtown, midtown, everywhere. She's sleeping with this man, this married ex of hers who was never even that into her in the first place. But like, we know that's what she likes, right? Like, she always likes him when he's unavailable to her. So married Big was, I don't think there's anything more appealing to Carrie than Big, who's emotionally unavailable in the first place, but now he's also married. So he's like physically unavailable. Well, not really, because they had an affair. They have an affair. She confesses to Aiden. He is devastated. She broke his heart. Of all of the horrible things Carrie has ever done, and there's many, this is the worst. This is the absolute worst. This man just wanted to love her. He just wanted to take care of her. He just wanted to make her home beautiful. He wanted to strip her floors. And look what she did. She broke his heart, okay? So that's the end of that. Few years go by. Then him and Steve end up becoming friends. They open a bar together. She sees him and he is hot. Oh man, he has aged like fine wine. He's looking good. He lost weight. And she's like, I have to have him. I have to get back together with him. He's the one I love. He's the one I love. And her friends are like, Carrie, like, you haven't said a word about this man in like all these years. And she's like, no, I've been thinking about him inside the entire time. So then she badgers him to get back together. She's basically, you have to forgive me. You have to forgive me. No, he doesn't. No, he does not. No one has ever needed to forgive someone less. Like, honestly, no. You do not deserve his forgiveness. But she can't have that. And the fact that he doesn't want her, she is aching for him. Finally, she wears him down. He decides, okay, let's give it another shot. But he's being a bit avoidant. And we know that Carrie loves that. There's nothing she loves more. I mean, she says she doesn't like it and she's very upset about it. But like, really, that's what makes her want him even more. He's sleeping on the other side of the bed. He's being a little bit evasive. He's not looking at her. He's flirting with the bartender. All of this like just riles her up. And then she is full on anxious mode once again. But once again, Aiden is still sticking it out. He's sticking it out with her. Not only that, then the relationship starts to deepen. And once it deepens and they move in together and he's completely available, no more flirting with waitresses, no more sleeping on the other side of the bed. Carrie can't stand him. She's like, oh my God, every time I walk in the door, you're just talking to me and he's asking me how my day was and like where I was and like his stuff is here and he has 4 deodorants. Like, I can't take this anymore. Okay. He bought her apartment, bought the one next door, is trying to make this whole beautiful home for them. And she's just being such a nag and such a bitch. Like, she's being so awful to this man. But despite all that, he decides this is the woman I'm going to marry. So he proposes to her. And first, when she spots the ring, she throws up. Okay. Like, that's her response to that's her response to marrying someone emotionally available. If it was Big, oh, she would have lit up like a Christmas tree. So she agrees to marry him and she has an intense physical reaction against this. She's breaking out in hives. She's freaking out. She can't even bring herself to like wear her ring on her finger. She wears it around her neck. She doesn't want to talk about wedding planning. She's completely freaking out about all this. Her whole body's, again, ladies, if you're in this position, go to therapy. That is where she needs to be. Intensive therapy. 4 days a week to work through all of her trauma and all of her issues. But no, she didn't do that. Instead, she breaks his heart once again. Poor Aiden. We find out that like he was in bed for like months and super depressed. She completely like shattered his soul. And all Carrie really cares about is when like one of his ex-girlfriends that Aiden had dated after her, like told the story to that girl, and that girl worked at SNL, and Carrie's like, oh my God, like what if she's telling like Gwyneth Paltrow and all like the SNL people about me? All she cares about is what people think about her, not like what a horrible person she is and all the hurt that she has caused to other people. But like, we could do another episode about why she was like a terrible role model for all of us. Let me know. Honestly, comment, email me, let me know what you guys want. Fine. So she destroys this man's soul. Then we see him years later. She runs into him on the street. This is when she was dating Berger. And he turns around and he has a baby strapped to him and he is looking fine. She finds out that he's married and he has started a family. He's making babies. That should have been the last we ever saw of Aiden. Like, he got the ending that he deserved. He got the marriage. He got the family. He is happy. He is thriving. We should never have seen him again. But then we get to the second movie, and you know, these creators, these writers, they have to pander. You know, they have to like do some things like shocking twists. So we're in the second movie, which never should have happened. What an embarrassment that was. And Carrie at this point is married to Big, but completely bored because Big just wants to like lay in bed and watch TV and order takeout, which like is a dream evening for me. Like, oh my gosh, me and my husband doing that, like, that's heaven on earth. Carrie's like, I don't want to be one of these couples, blah, blah, blah. Basically, Big is getting older. He's slowing down. There's no more dodginess, evasiveness. She's totally bored with him. So she's in Abu Dhabi, runs into Aiden. She has to stir up some drama because that's her MO. She ends up kissing him. Just so stupid. Right? Okay, fine. I guess she goes back to Big. She confesses. They work through it. Now we're on to the reboot. The reboot. So Big dies. We're going to talk about that too. Big dies. She's like kind of sad for 5 minutes. I mean, she was way sadder about him getting engaged to Natasha than she was about him like actually dying. I think she was just kind of over him at this point. Like he was just kind of so available to her. She was like over it. Aiden reemerges. I don't even remember how they reintroduced him. They fall immediately back in love. She's like, he's the love of my life. And then she says that line like, oh, maybe Big was a big mistake. Has nothing insightful to say about it. And we're supposed to buy that Aiden, the man that you rejected repeatedly over and over again, like this was really the love of your life. That's what you want us to buy. And then Aiden's son like gets into a car accident or something. He's like, I need to be there for my family. Let's go no contact for 5 years. Let's take a break and then we'll pick things up again. And Carrie's like, okay. Because of course she says okay, because the only time she ever likes this man is when she can't have him. That's it. That's the only time she ever really wants this man. And her stupid, brainless friends like go along with it. It is so stupid. I'm sorry, but if you're like 55, 60, again, I don't know how old they're supposed to be. You're going to waste 5 years of your life. You are in the second half of your life. And this is what you're going to do. You're going to waste 5 years waiting for a man that you never even liked in the first place. It's so stupid. Like the storyline is so dumb. Not only that, fine. You're going to try to convince us that these two are really soulmates. Like make their relationship hot and sexy. Instead, oh my God. That scene, that phone sex scene, say what you will about Big, but the man knew how to have phone sex. Like, remember they went through that phase where they were like having phone sex? Aiden in the car, like licking his hand. Ugh, 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 ugh. It was so disgusting. It was so disgusting. Who is blackmailing him to be on this show? Like, why are they humiliating him like this? Why are they ruining the character like this? So that's where we're at with this reboot. It is flat. These girls are not interesting. And look, I get like people in the comments on TikTok. I mean, overwhelmingly, everyone's agreeing with everything I'm saying. But some people are like, oh, look, they're getting older. Like they're getting older. Fine. But like, you could be interesting and be older. Are we saying that like people above 50 are just like lose their spark, that's not true. I work with plenty of women who are over 50 and they are alive and they have active dating and sex lives and they are interesting and they have a lot going for them. They're not like dementia patients. Like these women are in their 50s, they're not 90. Like, come on. That's my biggest problem with it. Make them interesting. Speaking of, here are some of my ideas for what they should have done instead. So what they did with Carrie, we'll start with Carrie, is they killed off Big. They had her like float around aimlessly in grief for a while. And then she started moving on way too fast and like forgot that Big had ever existed, basically. I think they should not have killed Big. I think that their love story should have gone in the direction that it was always going to go in. Divorce. These two were never, ever meant to last. Their entire relationship was basically a big trauma bond. She was only interested in him. The same pattern with Aiden. Like, when he didn't want her. They were not compatible. He was never super, super into her. He was never super, super into her, because if he was, he would have chosen her during all the opportunities he had to choose her, and he consistently rejected her over and over and over again. I think that once again, he should have gone emotionally cold, emotionally avoidant. I think Carrie should have finally chosen herself. I think she should have woken up to the fact that she has a disorganized attachment style, got herself into therapy, gotten back into the dating world, being more conscious. And then I think we could have a really interesting discussion on dating in your 50s, because dating in your 50s is an experience. Like I said, I'm a relationship coach. I work with many women in their 50s and 60s who are in that realm. I think there would be so much to say about that. Just like the original show had so much to say about being a woman dating in your 30s in New York City. I think the same could be said about being a woman in your 50s and how the men your age maybe want to date women who are in their 40s and 30s and how that's difficult for you. I mean, remember there was always a war between the 20-somethings and 30-somethings. There was just so much they could have done with that, but they did not. Another option would be that, fine, Big dies because he died. So like that's done. But he leaves her broke, okay? Either he gave all his money to like charity, or she finds out that like he lost all of his money in crypto, or that he wasn't as well off as she thought and it was all a ruse. So I think that it would have been interesting because I love poor Carrie. I do not like rich Carrie. Rich Carrie is boring. Like she just like dresses like strawberry shortcake as a grandma. Grandma strawberry shortcake is what she's turned into. She's living in this huge like mansion all alone, all by herself. She has no purpose, no direction. She spends her days just like decorating her house. She's boring. She's bored. And of course, like she doesn't do volunteer work or she's not like part of any charity. No, of course not. She just like goes shopping because she has unlimited funds. Rich Carrie's boring. I want poor Carrie back. I think it would have been so interesting if she found out she had no money and she had to go back to work, back to hustling, back to writing, back to doing something. It would have been cool if she like either started a column or a podcast like Midlife in the City, where basically she's talking about dating again and reinventing herself and just getting really raw and real and relatable, kind of like her own Eat, Pray, Love. I think that would have been really interesting. I think it also would have been great to see her go to therapy, to recognize her disorganized attachment style, to do some of that inner work and actually heal and recognize all the ways that she's been toxic and the effect that that's had on people. And then finally, I think that fine, you want to bring back Aiden. He was a fan favorite. You want to bring him back. I think bring him back. No way should they get back together. Instead, I think that she should realize he just represents a fantasy of safety that she never actually wanted. And she finally recognizes that. She doesn't just blindly follow her heart. I would say heart, but really I think it's her trauma and her triggers. She doesn't just blindly follow them. Now she actually has self-awareness, is able to check herself. Now let's talk about Miss Charlotte York Goldenblatt. What they did is they gave her these annoying, like, TikTok dancing teenagers and like surface level Upper East Side mom life problems and turned her into a cartoon character. I think instead they should have her dealing with like an empty nest identity crisis. First of all, I'm no mathematician here, but I've seen other people say that like her kids should actually be a lot older. Like they should have actually been out of the house. But we do see that Lily is almost in college, right? She's like applying for colleges. I feel like maybe it would have been worth Charlotte examining how much of herself she lost in trying to be the perfect wife and the perfect mom, because that was always Charlotte's thing, this obsession with like perfectionism. Maybe Charlotte enrolls in an art course or, really gets back into her career. I think they tried to do that last season and then they just abandoned the storyline. And she's really trying to rediscover who she was before having kids, before losing herself into motherhood. I also think with Charlotte, they should have explored her marriage strains with Harry. The thing with Harry is that they showed trouble in the beginning of the relationship. They show that Harry does have a selfish side. Are we forgetting that Harry has a massive selfish side that they just like abandoned and like turned him into the most perfect husband in the entire world? Like the fact that he seduced Charlotte, made her fall in love with him, only to be like, no, I can never be with you because you're not Jewish. Like he kind of like played her a little bit. And then I guess he wasn't expecting. She was like, oh, no, I'll convert. Then she goes through the whole process to convert for him. She makes him the Shabbat dinner. He's so ungrateful. Like what a little jerk that Harry was. Ungrateful. She gave up Christ for him. He won't give up the Mets for her. That's when they break up. Then eventually, he doesn't even apologize. He just kind of proposes and she's like, fine. And then he's like, we see a little bit more of his selfish side. We're like, and his unaware side when he was like walking naked through the house and making a mess. But after that, their relationship was perfect. She's like, our life is perfect. We have sex 4 times a week. We are great. They had like a little thing in one of the movies about she was worried about the nanny. I think we should see a bit of strain, a bit of emotional distance, a bit of their sex life slowing down, a bit of loss of connection due to just focusing so much on the kids. I think that this would really say something interesting about what it takes and the work it takes for a long-term marriage to actually work. Because with Charlotte, they made it seem like, oh, you find your prince, then you have your happily ever after. And look, for me personally, I do believe that I absolutely married my soulmate, for sure. We've been married for almost 10 years now. It is still hard work. It is hard. There are times when it's really easy and there's times that it gets tough. So I think that they should have portrayed that a little bit more. Now, Miranda Hobbs. Okay, so what they did is they gave her a queer awakening, but they flattened her arc and they just made her seem completely lost, not liberated. Like, she just seems sad. Miranda, our Miranda, who purchased her own apartment at the age of only 34 in New York City. Like, most people still need their parents to be guarantors on their lease when they're in their 30s. She purchased her own apartment. Now she's living in an Airbnb. Like, that's what you did to Miranda. And also, Carrie, backing up. Carrie, why didn't you give your apartment to Miranda, your homeless best friend who's been there for you through everything? Like, you have this apartment. She's homeless. She's sleeping at the professor's house. Remember the professor? That was another token character they threw in. They got rid of her, though. Why didn't you give her the apartment? But no. Now Miranda is picking up women in bars for one-night stands and living in an Airbnb. That's what they've done to our Miranda. So, okay, with Miranda, if they want to do the Che storyline, fine. But I feel like Miranda, the realization she needed to have there was not that, oh, I'm a lesbian, which she's not. She's not. Maybe she realizes being with Che, it's not about gender or rebellion. It's about her craving for freedom, for excitement, for newness. She's been a corporate lawyer for so long. She's been with Steve for so long. Maybe that's the big realization she needed to have, the big awakening. And maybe she recognizes that with Che, there's no stability and there's absolutely no future. Remember when she was like, I'm in a rom-com, Carrie? Which Miranda would never, ever say that. Miranda was grounded and pragmatic. She would see it for what it was. She wouldn't just get lost in this la-la land and become like this doe-eyed optimist. That's just not our Miranda. I think maybe she should get back to the dating realm, and I think she needs to be dating men. I'm sorry for anyone who loves this lesbian storyline, which I don't think anything. I think lesbians hate it too. I think we all hate it. I think she needs to get back to dating men, and I think that she just needs to start dating a different type of man. Steve was just always way, way, way too beta for her. If anything, she should have ended up with Hot Robert. Like, she really fumbled there. Remember Hot Robert, the hot doctor? I think that we should see Miranda back out there. Miranda was always so insecure, so like she always had this like inferiority complex with men. She always thought like, oh, I'm not pretty enough for this one, or I'm too intimidating, I'm too much. Like, I think that maybe we need to see Miranda really finding herself and finding her worth. Miranda was someone who was very confident, but had pretty low self-worth. So I would love to see her rediscover that. I also would have loved to see more of a strain with her relationship with Brady. Like, how is he not more mad at her? Like, he loves his dad. Steve was such a good dad, and she just blew up everything. And I would like to see him be a little bit more upset with her about that. But they didn't even bring Brady back yet. I think probably because he was so disgusting and annoying last season. They really like butchered our poor little Brady. And obviously, Samantha, our dear Samantha. I'm glad she's not in this reboot because they would have killed her also. Like, what they did to her in the second movie, they basically turned her into like a horny cartoon character who just wants to hump everything she sees. They would have wrecked her again. And I don't need to see that. I don't need to see that with Samantha, one of like the greatest TV characters ever. If they were to bring her back, I would love to see her thriving and mentoring young women on confidence and feeling empowered. Maybe she even is like big on like TikTok, or maybe even she has her own podcast and it is like the Call Her Daddy, but like better, you know? And it's all her experiences and her insight and her wisdom. And she's like super famous for sharing all of that. So that's what I think. And I think if they had done any of that, this would actually be a really good and really watchable show. These women, I mean, yeah, they're older, but they've lost their edge. They've lost their brains. They've lost their insights. And it's really sad to see. And I think they're really insulting our intelligence with the Aiden storyline, which is absurd. With all these new characters, it's absurd. With what they've done to everyone. It's like, if you don't want to write an interesting show, like you just want a paycheck, then hire someone to make an interesting show. Like, I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get what they're thinking. I don't get even why they resurrected this in the first place. Why resurrect something only to kill its legacy in such a spectacular fashion? I don't get it. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I've been sharing my thoughts on this for so long that like my throat is like on fire here. Like, I'm losing my voice from this. Please share your insights, your feedback. I would love to hear from you. Do you like this style of episode? If so, let me know. Please share your feedback. This is still a brand new podcast. I'm still getting my groove. So tell me what you thought. Leave a comment. Make sure to leave a review and share this episode with any of your friends who are also hate watching and just like that. Email me anytime, Sabrina@SabrinaBenzori.com, and I'll see you next time. Bye.